Hello and welcome back, people of podcast land. I'm your host, Reese, and in this episode, The Introverted Nerd watches Season 3, Episode 11 of Saved by the Bell, 1-900 Crushed. Who was your crush in this show? Mine is Lisa with a side of Slater. Heavy on the Lisa, light on the Slater. And I could trade Slater out for a little bit of Kelly every once in a while. So, hi. I'm so happy to be back. I'm usually happy to be here to talk about Saved by the Bell because, listen, that I watch this show every day after school. And some mornings when it used to come on like TNT or TBS, probably TNT. I don't remember. But that was when I was like older though. That was after like grade school. But I used to watch this show every day after school. It came on like 4 times. And I watched it on Saturday mornings as well. And including, I like stayed through Saved by the Bell, the new class. And I swore, like I watched every day and I swore that I remember everything about it. But I'm watching these episodes right now for this rewatch and I'm like, oh my God, there is so much that I remember. Like I remember stuff, but I remembered it the wrong way. I remember stuff from different episodes. It's crazy as shit. So this rewatch is like a lot of fun for me because things are not as they seem. And apparently my memory is not as good as I thought. So you can't trust anything that I say. I mean, I'm telling you a whole bunch of stuff about my life. And apparently some of it is not true. So it doesn't even matter. I could tell you like people's names and everything and it won't even matter because it's just a bunch of bullshit because I can't remember. I don't remember things the right way. So I'm going to tell you a bunch of stuff about the way I grew up and don't trust me. And it wasn't as bad in this episode. I was rewatching. What was I watching? Which episode? I was rewatching Jesse's song. And I think I said that in I said it in that episode. Where I was saying that I thought that Jessie was on harder drugs and it turns out she was on like caffeine pills. But maybe as a kid, I just thought that it was more than caffeine pills because as a kid, maybe I didn't understand that caffeine pills didn't mean like hardcore drugs and it was just caffeine or Red Bull or whatever the fuck it was that like the equivalent of like Red Bull. So, yeah, that was a whole lot for the beginning of the episode. So let me tell you what you can do to help me out because I'm always begging for help. I'm always asking people to do things for me when I can't do it for myself because I'm lazy. You know this about me. So you can go to Apple Podcasts and you can subscribe to the podcast. And while you're doing that, you can leave me a 5-star review because that's what I need. And because that's the nicest thing. And if it's anything less than a 5-star review, don't even bother because whatever. I'm a 5-star chick and I deserve 5 stars. And if you leave me a 5-star review, I will read them on the next episode of the podcast. And if you want to talk to me on Twitter about Saved by the Bell or the other show I'm podcasting about, Black Lightning, you can contact me at TI Nerd Pod. And on Instagram, where you can see all the pretty pictures that I put up about the episodes. I'm at The Introverted Nerd and like the Facebook page at facebook.com/The Introverted Nerd. And we'll get into 1-900 Crushed because this is 1-900 Crushed is where it's basically where Kelly's younger sister Nikki gets a crush on Zach, and he just fucks everything up because that's what Zach does. Okay, this episode starts with Zach looking in the back of a magazine of some kind of teen magazine. I don't know. He's looking at a magazine of young entrepreneurs. And he's telling Screech, what's the difference between me and them? And he's really, okay, I've never seen any kid on TV as money hungry as Zach. For a kid that comes from a wealthy family and gets whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, we've already talked about his cell phone. He has a personal computer in his room. Zach wants for nothing. He in the episode where he gets in trouble for having bad grades, he gets a trip out of that with his dad. His punishment was going on a fishing trip with his father. That was his punishment for being a bad student. So he gets whatever the fuck he wants. Why is Zach so desperate for money? I will never understand. You will not ever convince me that Zach doesn't get his mom. I mean, his dad seems like the type of shithead that would not give Zach money because he would want to teach him a lesson. Zach would have to work a little bit harder to get money from his dad. But even though we haven't met his mother, I'm fairly sure, almost positive, I would bet $50 that his mom is the type of mom that would just give Zach money if he asked for it. So I have no idea why he's so desperate to make money. But he's looking in the back of a magazine to find get rich quick schemes, and he finds an idea about starting a 900 number because it's $2 a minute, and that's the scheme. That's what he wants to do. And Lisa comes in, and they establish Lisa as this person that is really good at giving love advice. She's they're reading the Dear Donna, or I think they call her Dear Donna. She's basically Dear Abby for teenagers or something. And Jesse is reading off the questions to Lisa, and Lisa is basically giving the exact same answers as this Dear Donna person. So Zach, an actual light bulb appears over his head, and he's like, "Oh, here's my get rich quick thing. Lisa is the key to it." And he compliments Lisa and tells her "Yeah, this is what we should do. You should be giving advice to all the kids, all the love advice to all the students in school." And Lisa's like, "Oh, really?" She's into it. And so Zach and Screech go to Zach's house, and they're trying to work out how this whole advice line is going to go. And they get into the whole money thing. Zach works it out. He's like, okay, $2 a minute. She's going to work for 5 hours a night, 7 days a week. What? That's how long? 7 times 5, that's that's 35, right? So 35 hours a week, that's almost a full-time job at 16 years old. Full-time job is 40 hours a week, right? And Zach wants Lisa to go to school for 8 or 9 hours a day, and then come to his house and work for 5 hours a night giving these kids advice. And it's what kind of just child labor operation is Zach trying to work out? And he's really trying to work out a child this child labor. He's trying to work out a slave labor thing with Lisa, and it's sucks because she's black, and it's what the fuck? But Lisa comes through. But anyway, Zach's trying to work it out. He's oh, they're celebrating all this money they're gonna make, and Lisa walks in. And she comes in at the end of their conversation. So she hears that they're talking about how much money they're going to make. And Zach explains everything to Lisa. And she wants to know how much money she's going to make out of this. And Zach's like, what? You're not going to do this out of kindness of your heart? You don't want to help all of your fellow students? And Lisa, my girl, just really came through for me in this episode. I fucking loved her. She was like, nah, dude. My dude, I want money for this. You're going to pay me what I'm worth. I want half of everything. I was like, oh my God, Lisa, come to me. Let me love you. I want to hug you and kiss you and love you, because it is so great that she was like, I'm not falling for the Zach Morris bullshit. I don't want to hear about, I want to be a part of this scheme, but I want what I'm worth. I want half of everything. And it's like, Lisa could have asked for 75% of everything, because all Zach had was a fucking idea. Like, nobody gives a shit about your idea. You have to be able to put your idea into practice. Like, an idea is like whatever. Like, I mean, a bunch of assholes have ideas. Like, who gives a shit about them? It's about what you do with your ideas. And Lisa's like, yeah, your idea is to use me, so I want all the fucking money. And so they work it out so that Lisa's going to get half of all the profits. And I mean, I'm guessing it's still the 5 hours, the 5 hours a night thing. But it's like, okay, if Zach is going to pay for, the phone lines and this whole phone line thing, it's like we go to like they started like the next night, or they don't really tell you like when they started, but I'm guessing that, Zach has the pull to get all this shit done, but he has 3 phone lines in his room. He set up a 1-900 number for all of these. And it's like, what? That's how rich he is. That's how much money his family has. He has these phone lines set up in his room, and it's like, why are you even doing this? And Lisa has money as well. Lisa's family has money. Her dad's her mom's a doctor. Spoiler alert. We haven't met Lisa's mom, but her mom's a doctor. A surgeon at that. So she's like one of the highest paid like doctors. Like, surgeons get paid a lot of fucking money. I don't know what her dad does, but I'm sure that he makes a lot of money too. I'm going to say that her dad's probably a doctor as well. I just gave her dad a career. We never see her dad again anyway, but so what? That motherfucker was giving her credit cards. What was it? It was in one of the first episodes that I rewatched. She had a credit card. Like, what the fuck? They have money. None of these kids need to do this. I mean, maybe Screech. I don't know his situation. He might want to just get away from his dickhead parents, because they're like big Elvis fans, and they do that thing where they name their dog like after Elvis. It was like, his parents sucked. Maybe he needs the money to get away from them. So I can appreciate that. So earlier in the episode, when they're at the Max, when they're all talking, Kelly walks in with her little sister, Nikki, who we meet in this episode, and we will never see her again. Wait, I don't want to say that. We might see her again. Ooh. I almost forgot. Max returns. Yes, he does. So Max came back. Max is not the Judy Winslow. Max went upstairs. He went like to the back to make sandwiches. And I thought he was going to disappear for good, but no, Max returns. And I think Max returns because this is one of those Saved by the Bell things that the wonky timeline. This episode, because like on Hulu, the episodes are listed the way they aired, but they aired all of these things out of order. So in this episode, Zach looks a lot younger. He looks like he hasn't done the growth spurt thing no, it's not this episode. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I watched 2 episodes at the same time. It's the next episode. The next episode is where Screech is going to be the alien. And what is that episode called? It's called Close Encounters of the Nerd Kind. That is the episode that is out of order. I'm sorry. And if I was being like professional, I would take this part out of the episode, but I'm not going to. But Max does return. Max returns in the next episode. See, I told you about my memory. You can't trust anything I say. Max returns in the next episode and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So, but Nikki is in this episode, and Nikki has this hardcore crush on Zach, and she's not trying to hide it at all. She goes in and she's a pitcher, and apparently Zach taught her how to throw a pitch or something. Whatever. I don't care. So she's like praising Zach. She's just so in love with him. And she sits down next to him, and Zach is telling her, like, he's complimenting her, and he's telling her how great she is, and he's calling her, he's saying, Nikki, I love you so much. And he's saying it like he's just being a nice guy, she's like 12 or 13 years old, I believe. And so he's kind of being a nice guy to his girlfriend's sister. I get it. But Nikki is looking at him. She's just staring at him with these goo eyes. And I don't believe, like, her sister is there. Lisa and Screech is there. Like, they're all sitting around the table, and Nikki is just staring at Zach. She's sitting next to him, and she's just staring at him with like this silly smile on her face. And nobody notices that she's like looking at Zach and like has a crush on him. Like, these are the least observant people that you would ever meet, because it's like the whole thing, this whole episode would have been solved if Kelly had just taken a look at her sister for 2 seconds while she's talking to Zach, and it would be like, oh, Nikki has a crush on Zach, so we better take care of this Zach, or Kelly. Kelly. So Nikki has this daydream where the worst rapping, like the worst white dude rappers that you will ever see, oh my God, they suck. So she has this, it's rapping Cinderella. So Nikki is like, she's the Cinderella, and she's like mopping the floor of the Max, and Lisa, Jesse, and Kelly are there, and they're like the evil stepsisters. And then Slater and Screech walk in, and they're dressed like Run DMC, like just the Five Below version, not even the Five Below, the dollar store version of Run DMC, and it's so bad. And they can't stay on beat. It's a terrible rap. I don't even remember any of it. I was just so embarrassed for them. Like, I had secondhand embarrassment. I had like really terrible secondhand embarrassment. So I'm watching this and I'm like, oh my God, why do they do this? Oh, like if I was like light enough that you could see me turning red, I would be turning red. It was just too terrible. And I mean, at least for Slater stayed on beat. Well, like while he was dancing, while they were doing like the little dance that went along with the rap. But Zach and Screech are like, they can't find the beat anywhere. So I'm like, can they hear the music? Because apparently Slater could hear something where he could stay on the beat a little bit. Screech and Zach are just like moving on like the wrong notes, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? So and they have a golden sneaker instead of the glass slipper, and it's all that. And Nikki gets to put on the golden sneaker, and it's like this cute, well, not cute, in her mind it's like this cute thing that sort of I mean, if you didn't know by the way she was looking at Zach that she had a crush on him, this little daydream that she had will tell you that she had a crush. So when they start they were going to call it the Lisa line, but they end up calling it the teen line. And when they're doing the teen line thing, Nikki calls, like they're doing weird accents too. Like Lisa's doing this weird Southern accent. Zach is doing an Australian accent, and he's calling himself Nitro. It's weird. So whatever. Nikki calls the teen line, and she tells Zach is the one that answers the phone, And Lisa is doing a call while Nikki calls, and Nikki says her name. Like, they call there and they say their name. That's like, that seems really weird to me, that you would call like this name, this place where I would think you want to be anonymous, but whatever. I mean, I guess you wouldn't expect like three of your fellow students to be running the teen line. So I'll excuse that this time. But Nikki calls the teen line, and she tells Nitro, he's just speaking in such a terrible Australian accent. It's like not even Crocodile Dundee, because Crocodile Dundee was actually Australian, right? So it's not that. He's just I can't even mimic what he was doing, but he's speaking in this accent, and he's Nikki says that she has a crush on her sister's boyfriend, and she wants to know what she should do. And Zach sort of, he doesn't get Lisa to he can't get Lisa's attention to get her advice about what he should actually do. And he talks to he ends up telling Nikki, like, who cares about your sister? All's fair in love and war. Basically do whatever the fuck you want. Go take your sister's boyfriend. Bye. And I was thinking, like, if Nikki, like, you hear that, if you're Nikki, and I'm like, I understand she's like 12 years old, so whatever. But do you hear somebody say, like, hey, just fuck over your sister, steal her boyfriend, and you don't go, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. Like, even as a 12-year-old, I don't have a sister. I have a younger brother. And he's straight. So we don't have this problem. Well, yeah, because we never liked the same girl or anything. And he's 6 years younger than me. So we would never like go after like the same girl. But it just seems really weird to me that somebody would tell you, like, you have a crush on your sister's boyfriend, and some dude, some rando stranger will tell you, like, go after him. Like, fuck your sister. Who gives a shit about that bitch? You like the guy, so go take him. And you would just be like, oh, that sounds like really good advice. I'll do that. I've never had a boyfriend before. He's my first crush, but yeah, fuck my sister. So that's what Nikki does. So while this is going on, Slater and Jesse are doing their thing, their flirt fight thing, and they it's just so weird. It's like the equivalent of, they're like the high school equivalent of, you're mean to somebody to let them know that you like them. So they're in the hallway. The teen line is like being advertised all over the school, and they're sort of like both making fun of it, like I would never do that, and they're sort of talking about it. And Jesse makes this comment to Slater about he says something like he doesn't need advice to get girls, and she makes a comment like insulting him, and I forget what she says, but she insults him, and he stops her, and he's like, okay, Jesse, like, what the fuck is your problem? Like, why are you being a dickhead? And that's really like funny coming from Slater, because I'm like, dude, you're an asshole all the time. Like, earlier in the episode, he makes a comment about why girls need love advice, and he always has a comment to like just to get on her nerves. And I'm like, you do this to each other, like, what the fuck? Like, but I really appreciated him, like, come on, girl, what's your problem? And she actually says, like, we went to the prom together and I had a good time, but you never called me. And he's like, well, you never called me either. And you could have, she walked him home. He said, you walked me home after the prom. You could have called me too. Like, it shouldn't all be on me, feminist. He didn't say that, but it's basically what he said. Like, feminist, you could have called me too. Like, what the fuck? And, she's like, well, what are we going to do about this? And he's like, okay, Jesse, will you go out with me on Saturday. And she goes, maybe. And it's like, and I actually appreciate this later at this moment. He's like, you know what? Whatever. And he just walks away from her, and she gets this look on her face like she's surprised, or like he should have begged her to go out with him. And I'm like, no, girl, you said you wanted him to ask you out. He actually spoke to you like you're a human being for once. You actually spoke to each other like you're two human beings that like each other. And then he asks you out, and you say maybe. You totally deserved like the walking away. Like, fuck you, Jesse. If he would have just said, okay, Jesse, like, fuck you, I would have been totally cool with it. So Nikki goes into school the next day, and she's actually following Nitro's advice, and she goes to talk to Zach. She's like all dressed up. She's wearing a pretty little dress. And she tells Zach that she's in love with him. And this is when Zach realizes that Nikki is in love with him, because I don't think she said that it was her sister's boyfriend, but apparently, or maybe Zach wasn't paying attention, but this is when he realizes that Nikki is in love with him. He didn't realize when he was on the phone with her when she called the teen line, but he realizes when she comes up to him and she wants a hug, and she's telling him that she's in love with him, and she wants to be with him, and he should break up with Kelly. She's saying a whole bunch of shit. And he sees Jesse walking down the stairs, or he sees Kelly, and he puts Nikki in his locker, and he has the chance to tell Kelly the truth. Like, for the first time in your life, Zach, you haven't done anything wrong. Nikki has the crush on you. You know, it's all clear. You could just tell Kelly the truth, but no. No, that is not the Zachariah Jebediah Morris way to do things. I don't know if that his name is not Zachariah. His name is Zachary, right? Not Jesse. Kelly walks up to Zach, and she's like, oh my God, Nikki has her first little crush. This is the first thing we have in common. The first thing she has in common with her little sister is a boy. But okay, Kelly. And Zach just sort of like gets her out of the way. She gives him a hug, kiss, whatever. And then Nikki gets out of the locker, and she won't leave until he gives her a kiss. So he kisses her in the cheek, and when Jesse sees them, because Nikki is like aggressive. She's like, I will not leave. You give me a kiss. He gives her a kiss on the cheek, or does she give him a kiss on the cheek? Whatever. Kiss on the cheek is exchanged. And then she hugs him, and that's what Jesse sees. Jesse, when she's walking down the stairs, she sees Nikki and Zach hug, and she's like, oh, look at him. She's like, it's terrible. And I'm like, she's 13 or 12 or something like, okay, she's 13. I'm going to say 13 because she's in high school. She's 13 years old. Zach is like 15. It's only 2 years, but that just seems like, that kind of grosses me out. I don't know why. Maybe it's because, it feels like she was just in middle school. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, her being 13 years old. And that's why Zach is not interested in her. So, he's really actually not doing anything wrong. Like, this is the one time that Zach is not actually doing anything wrong. He's not being gross with his girlfriend's little sister. She has a crush on him. So he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't tell Kelly, so whatever. So apparently we go back to the teen line, and they're not getting any calls, and they determine that Lisa solved everybody's problem. And Zach gets mad. He's like, what the fuck, Lisa? Like, what were you doing? What were you thinking working when I asked you to work at the teen line? What were you thinking doing your actual fucking job? And he's like, you know what? You're fired. We can't have you solving people's problems. We need this money. And Lisa's like, you know what? Fuck you, Zach. Give me my money right now. and Screech takes out the money, and I don't know whether I think she took more than her half, because Screech separates the money, and Lisa takes the bigger stack, and she just walks out. So she gets all her money. She got fired, but it's basically a fuck you to Zach. And his new plan is to go around to everybody that they got together and to break everybody up. So they get a phone call from Slater. And Slater calls, and he tells them his problem with Jesse. And their first bit of advice to sort of fuck with everybody's relationship is to tell Slater, like, tell that girl to fuck her, because he told them that he asked her out and she said maybe. So Nitro says, fuck that bitch, just dump her, don't go out with her. And once again, a person being told to do something that they shouldn't do, and they don't really want to do, but they just sort of unquestioningly go along with this advice that they get. And Slater walks up to Jesse in the Max while she's sitting there talking to Kelly about her date with Slater that's supposed to be coming up. And I guess the maybe went from maybe to definitely, because if it was just a maybe, if they both like really believed that it was a maybe, then there is no date to break off. It's just like a maybe sitting up in the air. But apparently maybe turned to definitely at some point. But Slater walks in and he just murders Jesse. He's like, hey Jesse, remember we were going out on Saturday night? And he does this in the middle of the fucking Max. Hey, remember we were going out on Saturday night? Fuck you, bitch. No, we're not going out. And it was like, what? You couldn't have called her, Slater? You couldn't have just like said, I'm not really into this anymore. I'm not, I don't want to go out with you on Saturday night. This is somebody that you spend a ton of time with. You're going to see her every day for a real long time. But no, he had to go to the Max and humiliate her in front of everybody, because she's just sitting there and she's smiling. She starts smiling when he brings up their date, and then he's like, fuck it, we're not going out. I don't want anything to do with you. And he walks away, and Jesse's like embarrassed, and she runs out, and Kelly chases after her. So while Kelly's running out after Jesse, Zach and Screech are walking in, and Kelly stops to talk to Zach to ask him if he wants to go out with her over the weekend. And Zach sort of badly lies about how he can't go out because he's busy or he has something to do. And he's trying to hide the teen line from Kelly is the real thing that he's trying to hide. And before Slater came in to like emotionally body slam Jesse told Kelly that she saw she saw Zach and Nikki hug, and she thinks something might be going on between them. And Kelly's like, no, Zach wouldn't do that. And even if Zach would, Nikki's my little sister. She wouldn't do that to me. You're wrong about your sister. You're right about Zach. You're wrong about your sister, Kelly. And so when Zach refuses to go out with Kelly, or tells her that he has other plans, she gets the look like, oh my God, maybe Jesse was right. Zach is up to no good. So, Zach and Screech basically go on their campaign to ruin all the relationships around Bayside, and they do a good job. But then Kelly calls, and when Kelly calls about Zach, she thinks Zach is cheating on her, and she tells him that she thinks he might be cheating on her with her little sister or something like that. And then Nikki calls too, and Nikki is trying to she's trying to get with Zach too. She's trying to get advice too. And Zach doesn't know what to do. So he calls Lisa. And Lisa's like, well, why should I help you? You fired me. You know, I should just tell you to fuck off and hang up. And he's like, no, please. I need to find a way to, to give Kelly advice. I don't want to ruin everything. Just please help me, Lisa. So she decides to help. She tells him to do what he didn't need advice to do. Tell Kelly the truth. You haven't done anything wrong. Tell her the truth. Don't be Zach for a second and tell the truth. And with Nikki, just let her down easily. She has a little crush on you. Just let her down easily. Don't be a dick. So he gets the phone lines mixed up because they both called at the same time, and he gets the phones mixed up. So when he talks to Kelly, he picks it up thinking that it's Nikki, and he's like, forget about that guy. He sucks. Just get rid of him. And he hangs up, and then he picks up the line that he thinks is Kelly, and he tells her, you're the only Kapowski girl for me. I love you so much. And it turns out it's Nikki. And Nikki's like, oh my God, Zach, I love you too. We can finally be together. And he fucked up. So he goes back to Lisa, and he's like, we have to get everybody in school back together. Oh no, what happens is they go into art class, and everything is so messed up. The boys and the girls hate each other. So they have like this silly string fight in the class, and Mr. Belding gets involved, and they all go to Mr. Belding's office. And that's how Mr. Belding finds out that Zach and Screech are running the teen line. And Mr. Belding tells Zach, you have to fix everything by 12 o'clock. I want my school fixed. And it's like, really? You want Zach to fix this? Zach fucked everything up. You don't want Zach to fix anything. So Mr. Belding, pushing off his responsibility to his co-principal, Zach. And he goes, Zach is like, okay, I'll fix everything. And that's when Lisa gets involved, and she basically does like the line around the school. The kids in school stand in line to get advice to fix their lives and their relationships. And then we finally get to Kelly, and Lisa's advice to Kelly is to dress up like Dolly Parton, wearing it looks like Dolly Parton's like old hair. Like it's a giant blonde wig with giant black glasses, and a pink like raincoat, and it's like PVC, and it's like it's like this bubblegum pink coat, and she stands out like a fucking sore thumb. And Lisa takes her to the max and tells her to sit in the booth and just wait. You'll see what happens next. Just wait here. And her advice to Zach I don't even know if Lisa told him to do this, but Zach's idea to get Nikki to fall out of love with him is to make himself disgusting to her, to like try to turn her off so she'll just, get disinterested. So he basically wears Screech's clothes. And I swear we've seen Screech wear this outfit. It's like a pair of giant pants with suspenders and a giant shirt. And I swear they buy Screech's clothes so big that Zach can fit them too. Because Zach and Screech are not the same size. But Screech's clothes are so big that they look big on Zach as well. I swear to God, I've seen Screech in this outfit before, and like parts of this outfit before. And he has on one of those hats that has like the spinning like fan thingy on top. He looks ridiculous, and it's not. Nobody has ever seen Zach dressed this way. I mean, I'm sure Nikki has seen Zach around before. If she goes to the high school as well, she knows Zach doesn't dress this way. he changes his voice to like a stereotypical like nasally nerd voice, and he just is ridiculous when he could just tell Nikki like, I'm really sorry, Nikki, I really like your sister Kelly. I mean, all of Zach's problems would be solved if he told the truth just like 5% of the time. Just a little bit more than he actually does. It's like you don't have, my dude. You could be so much better. So he brings a spider, and it turns out Nikki is like really into spider. She's not afraid of it. She's not like grossed out when he starts spitting his gum into his soda. Like none of it is working. And when Zach is like, are you afraid of there's some sort of like insect carnival like exhibit thing coming up, and he's trying to gross her out, and it's not working, and none of it is grossing her out. This is like all the stuff that she's really interested in. And eventually he gets to the point where like he's like, oh, you actually like all of this? And she's like, yeah, Zach. And he's like, and she figures it out. She's like, oh, so you were trying to turn me off. And she gets up, and I gotta say, I kind of like Nikki after this, because she's like, she gets up and she gets in Zach's face, and she's like, oh, so you were too immature to tell a 13-year-old girl that you weren't interested. Ugh. And she just sort of walks out on him, and I'm like, yes, my girls in this episode are just Lisa and Nikki, the MVPs. Well, Lisa the MVP, and Nikki is like just a step below. But if Lisa wasn't in this episode, Nikki would totally be the MVP. So Kelly, of course, is sitting in the booth with her ridiculous costume on, and it's like she's supposed to be blending in, but she looks like a 40-year-old woman in this getup that she's wearing, and it's so crazy. But she gets up and she starts flirting with Zach, and she says, oh, like, hey, big boy, do you want to go and create a Polaroid moment? And it's like, what? Time out. Like, I'm like, time out. I'm like, Zach, you should be saying time out. This is crazy. Creating a Polaroid moment, was that supposed to be sexy? That was like, it wasn't. It wasn't sexy or cute. I was like, no, Kelly, stop it. A Polaroid moment. Oh my God, a Polaroid moment. I've never heard that before. Like, do you want to create a Polaroid moment? And I started thinking, like, is that like their like way to get advertising to the episode, like create a Polaroid moment? Like, it was so crazy. It was so bad. It was like, why would Zach even like this? But he talks to the camera. He's like, he says like, no, I'm sorry, miss. I have a girlfriend and I love her very much. And he's like, yeah, it's Kelly. You guys, I know it's Kelly. Like wink, wink. I know it's Kelly. And that is the end of this episode. Kelly oh my God, Kelly flirting with Zach in her Dolly Parton wig. And the only thing she was missing was the giant boobs. And she would have looked exactly like Dolly Parton with glasses on. It was just it's so bad. And it's like, why would you even wear that? Like, and why wouldn't she question Lisa? Like, Lisa, aren't I supposed to be like trying to hide a little bit? Like wearing this outfit where I look like that looks like a Halloween costume. Is that like the smartest thing to wear right now? But yeah, but Lisa's the smartest person in this episode. You shouldn't be questioning her. She like knows her shit in this episode. So you did the right thing, Kelly. Everything worked out for you. Everything worked out for Zach, of course, too, because I don't even know did he make any money? Lisa took half his money before. Oh, and when he went back to her for help to try to fix everything, she asked for 100% of the profits, and he gave it to her. Like, she wouldn't, in order to get her help, like, he gave it to her. So Lisa ended this with 100% of the profit. Zach made nothing, and the only thing he did was like save his relationship. But whatever, he loves himself some Kelly, so I guess it was worth it. Oh, everybody, that is the end of the episode. Up next, on next week's episode is Close Encounters of the Nerd Kind. And I'm going to try to do that episode right after this, since it's all fresh in my mind. I watched both episodes like back to back. So, if you want to follow me on Twitter, follow the podcast at TI Nerd Pod, but you can follow me personally at the Ms. Introvert. On Instagram, I'm at the Introverted Nerd. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/the Introverted Nerd. And if you want to leave me feedback, email the Introverted Nerd at gmail.com. And until next week, everybody, later.